Welcome to MojoPlays, and in this installment of Versus, we're pitting Assassin's Creed Mirage against the original Assassin's Creed.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
Round 1, Characters.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted. Understand these words. It matters not how we complete our task, only that it's done.
But this is not the way
My way is better.
Though Altair and Basim appear in more games than just AC1 and Mirage, here we're specifically comparing them in those games only. This means that we're not taking into account Basim's development in Valhalla or Altair's in Revelations. With that said, it was Altair's job to launch a new franchise for Ubisoft, and he certainly delivered on that. Often, video game protagonists don't need to be the most interesting on their own. You just need to believe that they'd follow all the same orders and objectives that you'll be following for the story, and Altair is certainly that. He does grow throughout the game, learning about the pieces of Eden and that his mentor, Al-Mu'alim, has been corrupted by them, but he's still not the most compelling character.
But I cannot abide a traitor.
I am not a traitor.
Your actions indicate otherwise. And so you leave me no choice.
Basim is certainly more interesting from the get-go than Altair was. With his rakish charm and difficult life on the streets of Baghdad, we're already rooting for him. He joins the Assassins and begins to grow as a character under the mentorship of Roshan. He starts off strong, but gets even better. By the end of the game, when his ideals as a hidden one are pit against his destiny as a sage, he definitely comes into his own. Though it is unfortunate that the ending of Mirage won't really make any sense if you didn't finish Valhalla. Basim also has more interesting relationships and conversations with other characters, whereas Altair only talks to each of his allies a few times.
Are you ready to leave your life behind and walk the path of shadows?
I am.
Are you ready to give up who you once thought you were? Ready to sacrifice everything you held close?
I am.
It's definitely a close call, and arguably both characters are at their weakest in these games. But we're going to have to give this one to Basim, because Ubisoft has clearly learned a lot since it created Altair. Winner, Assassin's Creed Mirage. Round 2, Setting.
He has found the strength to stand in defense of our great civilization. Make no mistake, it is our...
The entirety of Egypt was great to explore in Origins, but ever since Ubisoft took this countrywide approach, many fans have longed for the days when there was just one sprawling city. Mirage's Baghdad was a return to form in many ways, with a dense, ancient city full of history and interesting landmarks to discover. The streets are packed so closely together that running across rooftops is actually fun again. It was a great callback to the early days of the franchise, only now able to make use of dynamic weather and lighting to make everything even more immersive. Plus, it was recreating a city that had been sacked and destroyed time and time again, bringing Baghdad in its prime back to life. But equally, there's a lot to be said for the 5 major maps in the first game. Not only is there the Assassin's Base, Masyaf Castle, and its surrounding village, but there are 3 huge cities, Damascus, Jerusalem, and Acre, all connected by the kingdom. Each location makes use of a different color filter to give it a distinct style and feel, not to mention being split into rich, poor, and middle income districts. As a proof of concept, the first game is phenomenal, and some of those cities remain beloved settings in the franchise. Even with Mirage, people still want a full remake, or at the very least a remaster of the very first game, and its superb open world and immersive setting are the main reason why.
You've no claim to it, Robert. Take yourself from here before I'm forced to thin your ranks further.
Recreating Baghdad is a triumph to be sure, but you'll never forget the first time you ride through the kingdom and find one of those vast cities in the Holy Land. That's why this one goes to AC1. Winner, Assassin's Creed 1. Round 3, Stealth. In truth, if you get the countering down and learn how to handle the tougher enemies that have to be staggered or dodged, you can probably finish both games with minimal stealth. But obviously, that's not the way they're intended to be played. So, which really has the better sneaking? Altair is weak in combat, especially at the start of the game, so you're always better off running and hiding rather than fighting large mobs of enemies. But if you haven't played the older games in a while, you might not remember there was no crouching at the beginning. Altair is trying to sneak, but he stands up the whole time, which certainly isn't ideal. It's also all too easy to get seen and ruin unique assassination opportunities. Mirage, on the other hand, has the benefit of being the latest in a long line of games. Basim can crouch, he can whistle, he's got various tools he can use to distract guards and hide, he can blend with more people than Altair could, and crucially, he has superior eagle vision. Altair can only use eagle vision when he's standing still, and the ability to use it to see enemies through walls wasn't added until many games later. Basim can do all of those things, as well as being just as adept at countering when he does get into a combat situation. It's not really a competition in this category. Yes, the first game was still finding its feet, but Mirage is the apex of Assassin's Creed stealth mechanics. Plus, Altair doesn't have a pet eagle to scope out areas. Ultimately, the stealth is just a little too tedious in the first game, and we're so glad Ubisoft has improved it so much that it's as good as it is in Mirage. Winner, Assassin's Creed Mirage. Round 4, Controls. The first game still has plenty of fans who replay it regularly, but over 15 years on, and it's definitely showing its age, mostly where its controls are concerned. A lot of the issues in AC1 were admittedly ironed out quickly enough by the time of AC2, but that doesn't mean they're any easier to deal with. Altair controls awkwardly, he's a very slow climber, and switching weapons during combat can be annoying enough that you get killed while you're attempting it. Altair also has no easy way to quickly descend buildings, and you can only assassinate his targets with the hidden blade, even if his other weapons are equally lethal. It's something you get used to, but the difference between AC1 and its sequels is night and day. Mirage, on the other hand, controls better in almost every way imaginable. Basim, while slower than some other AC protagonists, is definitely faster than Altair, and much more mobile, especially where the parkour is concerned. You have a toggle to run, the left thumbstick on consoles, and you don't have to constantly hold down a trigger and a face button, which makes Mirage a lot more comfortable. And while Basim doesn't have the iconic hidden blade, you can use other weapons to take out your targets, and you don't ever have to switch to the blade. Combat is also more reactive in Mirage, since you have to time Basim's parries correctly, instead of just holding down buttons.
I will kill you! Kissing yourself, mate?
This category isn't close at all. It has to go to Mirage, which iterates on the first game in every single way. Winner, Assassin's Creed Mirage. Round 5, Story. The first game started with a bang. We were introduced to Desmond Miles and the conceit of the Animus, a machine that lets someone relive the memories of their ancestors. He goes back in time to the Crusades and goes through a spectacular opening sequence where Altair fails to steal the Ark of the Covenant and gets demoted. But the really memorable parts of the first game come at the end, when we're finally shown the power of the Apple of Eden, and everything becomes well and truly science fiction. You'll never forget the first time you were introduced to these concepts, or the revelation that messages were written for Desmond in Subject 16's blood. Even the political machinations of the Holy Land during the Crusades are fascinating.
Let this be decided by combat. Surely God will side with the one whose cause is righteous.
If this is what you wish,
It is.
so be it. To arms, assassin!
Mirage, on the other hand, isn't necessarily telling a complete story on its own. You really do need to have played and finished the main story of Valhalla to understand the impact of some of the events of the game's final hour, which definitely makes it more limited. As well as that, Basim's story is one we've seen in the series before, a young man who has ambition and drive and joins the Assassin Brotherhood as a way to find meaning in his life. Connor and Arno also fit this mold, and they're arguably more interesting in their own games than Basim is in his. That's not to say Mirage doesn't have its moments, it certainly does, but it's clearly going over old ground again and again. That is what it set out to do, though. The story of AC1 is just more engaging and impactful, and was able to introduce so many original concepts and ideas from the first civilization to the Animus, as well as many beloved characters. We have to give it the victory here. Winner, Assassin's Creed 1.
Why are you doing this?
I found proof
Proof of what?
that nothing is true and everything is permitted.
It's definitely close, and there's no topping the original in many ways, but Mirage benefits from 15 years of improvements and refinements to the franchise's tried and true formula. With 3 points to 2, Mirage is our overall winner. Let us know in the comments who you think should have won.
You there? What? You're dead!
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.